The Great Stones Way, 46 miles from Avebury to Salisbury in 2021. In July 2021, my friend Gilly and I walked the Great Stones Way from Avebury to Salisbury. This was a magical journey through part of southern England's enigmatic megalithic landscape, taking in Woodhenge, Stonehenge and Old Sarum as we crossed Salisbury Plain and dropped down into the Avon Valley. Walking right through the very heart of some of Britain's most intriguing ancient sites helped to add a new dimension to our understanding of England's sacred landscape, and we had some particularly powerful experiences and insights as we traversed the landscape surrounding Stonehenge. These started as we approached Stonehenge by the back door along a footpath from the northeast. At the time we didn't realise that it was an extension of the cursus. We both felt very strongly that we were walking along a ceremonial path, and the wildflowers there were extremely prolific. As we approached the stones from the east, we both, quite independently of each other, had the distinct feeling that although the stones themselves were not actually radiating much energy, we were looking through portals into another dimension. In fact, not just one dimension, but many. It was a completely surreal experience, but it also felt very right and natural. The only stone that was radiating energy was the heel stone, which was literally buzzing and had pulsating flashes of bright colours coming out of the top of it, rather like coloured lightning. It was not until afterwards, when we compared notes, that we realised that we had been experiencing the same things. Obviously what we saw is not visible in the photos below, so you will just have to take my word for it. During the hours that it took us to walk through the Stonehenge area, we both felt very strongly that we were walking through England's Valley of the Kings, partly because the area is pretty much encircled by burial mounds, but also partly because of the psychic experiences we were having. It felt like we were at the very heart of England and the ancient cultures that existed before our time. On this walk, we were brought down to earth with a bump when we witnessed the dead body of a young woman lying on the pavement as we were walking through one of the villages. The paramedics had just arrived and were administering CPR, but we knew immediately that it would be in vain because her body had no aura, and we realised that her soul had passed on and was beyond the point of no return. This was a very poignant reminder for us of the fragility and beauty of human life. It actually had quite an impact on us, and we continued to send her Reiki throughout the day as we walked, and in fact during the following days as well. It reinforced very strongly how important Carpe Diem is. In other words, that we need to live our lives as well and as fully as possible while we are on earth, with no regrets about the past or fears for the future. I have covered this subject in more detail in my chapter on reincarnation, but I wish to emphasize here that death is a natural part of the totality of our existence and is not the end, as many people are led to believe. Death is a slightly taboo subject in our society, and as a consequence, many people have difficulty in coming to terms with the realities involved when a loved one passes away. If only they could realize that the soul is eternal and never dies. When we die, we are merely shedding our physical body for a while and returning to our source. The closest metaphor I can find is that of metamorphosis, or of a snake sloughing its skin. Not many of us actually witness a death, so Jilly and I were grateful for the lesson we were given as we walked through one of the most beautiful parts of our country. On our arrival in Avebury, we spent the afternoon before the start of our walk wandering among the iconic stones and soaking up the atmosphere. Here we are at the start of our walk at the Sanctuary on Overton Hill at Avebury. A new stone circle at East Kennet near the start of our walk. Apparently there used to be a stone circle at East Kennet, but it has long since been destroyed. This modern imitation had a great atmosphere, so maybe whoever was responsible for siting it there knew a thing or two. It was raining heavily during our visit, but we were nice and snug in our rain gear and were loving it. Cruising past the Wansdyke on the chalk downs to the south of Avebury with Knapp Hill in the background. Milk Thistle with Walker's Hill in the background. Milk Thistle is a great cholagogue, i.e. good for the liver and gallbladder, and galactagogue, good for nursing mothers. A rare early gentian, spiny rest harrow and sandfoin on the chalky downs around Walker's Hill. Spiny rest harrow is reputed to be good for urinary tract problems, gout and joint and muscular pain. Sandfoin, which is often referred to as holy hay, is a unique forage legume with numerous benefits for agriculture. It is a natural wormer and source of protein for livestock, which does not cause bloating. It is a nitrogen fixer for the soil, is drought resistant, and is invaluable for pollinating insects. Looking out across the Vale of Pewsey from Walker's Hill. Walker's Hill and a mad walker. Lunch spot on Walker's Hill, overlooking the Vale of Pewsey. Pyramidal orchid, a demulcent traditionally used for treating irritations of the gastrointestinal tract. The Alton Barnes white horse with the marbled white butterfly on the field scabious in the foreground. Field scabious has been used traditionally for treating skin conditions, coughs and sore throats. This yew tree in the churchyard of All Saints Church in Alton Priors is said to be well over 1,000 years old. All parts of the yew are poisonous. However, it is interesting to note that Taxol, a prescription drug for the treatment of breast and ovarian cancer, was originally extracted from the bark of the yew tree. Alton Priors and Alton Barnes had a network of beautifully constructed paved footpaths with turnstiles. We walked along the Kennet and Avon Canal for a few miles. It opened in 1810, connecting Bristol to the River Thames at Reading. It has now been fully restored after falling into neglect when the Great Western Railway was built. The beautiful church of St Mary Magdalene and its churchyard at Woodborough. Jilly's MX-5 looked very much at home in this parking spot outside the church in Woodborough. Quirky mushroom-shaped topiary outside a house in Woodborough. Heading up onto Salisbury Plain from the Vale of Pewsey. The wildflowers were phenomenal. We counted a total of 105 different species which were flowering during the course of our walk. This photo features field scabious, agrimony and angelica. Angelica is a useful expectorant for coughs, bronchitis and pleurisy and good for easing flatulence. It stimulates the appetite and can be used for treating anorexia nervosa. Meadow cranesbill and great burnet on the fringes of Salisbury Plain. Meadow cranesbill has been used traditionally for treating nosebleeds, ulcers and hemorrhoids and to staunch bleeding wounds. Greater burnet has been used for treating ulcerative colitis, diarrhea, dysentery and bladder and blood vessel problems. Looking back towards the Vale of Pewsey on our ascent to Salisbury Plain. Red poppies, a mild sedative and expectorant. Golden melilot, a diuretic and good for relieving the symptoms of poor blood circulation. This is Casterly Camp on Salisbury Plain. I have a sneaky suspicion that the author of the Game of Thrones, George Martin, may have been here. Charming cottages in Enford, Long Street. Enford, Long Street. The River Avon between Enford and Nether Avon. Snake in the grass. We almost trod on this grass snake which was lying right in the middle of the footpath. We saw this just after we witnessed the death of a young woman. Maybe it was no coincidence and a reminder of the fact that, like a snake shedding its skin, we shed our physical bodies when we die. Woodhenge. There is nothing left now of the 6 concentric rings of timber posts, the tallest of which were 25 feet high, which were erected here 2,500 years ago, just 2 miles to the northeast of Stonehenge. What you see here are concrete pillars marking the original posts. Heading towards Stonehenge by the back door, along an extension of the Cursus, and more stunning wild flowers, including greater knapweed, agrimony, tufted vetch, wild parsnip, field scabious, and yarrow. Agrimony is an astringent with bitter tonic properties and is a valuable remedy for the digestive system. Greater knapweed has been used traditionally for treating flesh wounds, sore throats, bleeding gums, and catarrh. Tufted vetch has been used traditionally as food for livestock and also in medicine for treating eczema and other skin irritations. Wild parsnip. The root is edible, but the sap in the shoots and leaves contains photosensitive chemicals and can cause a burning skin reaction. Yarrow has a multitude of medicinal uses. It is good for menstrual problems, stimulates the appetite, eases toothache, helps with feverish conditions, and is an efficient wound healer. White musk mallow. Like all the mallows, musk mallow is a demulcent with anti-inflammatory, expectorant and astringent properties. Gilly heading up to Stonehenge from the east. Stonehenge. We were dead chuffed because visitors on the other side of that fence had to pay a fortune for the privilege of visiting the site. We got it for free. The heel stone, which was absolutely buzzing with energy. The porch of St Andrew's Church at Great Durnford. Common vervain and a field of yarrow. Vervain is a great remedy for the nervous system, used for treating stress and depression. This looks like a contender for a door into the secret garden. On the right is the trunk of a ghost or handkerchief tree. Old Sarum and the official end of the Great Stones Way. However, we opted to continue our walk down into Salisbury, and you can just see the spire of the cathedral in the background. This spire is the tallest spire in the UK at 404 feet. Mission accomplished. Lessons learnt. We learnt that England has its very own Valley of the Kings. We received a strong reminder of the importance of Carpe Diem, the fragility of life and the eternal nature of the soul, when we witnessed the dead body of a young woman